Well, shoot. That's weird. Doesn't want to work for some reason. Okay, that sucks. I don't know why it's acting like that. I hope it's not my whole ass charging port. Oh, wait, of course it's not charging the fucking thing. I keep forgetting. Fuck. I hate how fucking hard it is. I hate how hard it is to get these plugs out of their receptacles sometimes. So fucking annoying. Oh. Hello, friends, enemies, compatriots. Well, even if I didn't glitch dash, you know me. I always need to stock up for the next one, you know? For the next time I run out. Let's all smoke? I agree. I agree. They say that after the war, the Nazis vanished without a trace, but battalions of fascists still dream of a master race. The history books tell of their defeat in 45. But they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. The prisoner at Sandow was a symbol of defeat. While Hess remained in prison, the Nazis seemed to be beat. Something, 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 something. I don't know. Why did the thief wear blue gloves? He didn't want to be caught red-handed. No, that one actually, yeah, it's kind of funny. It does make me giggle whenever I read it. I can't even lie. It does make me giggle a little bit. Won't be on long. Gonna do a cooking stream in a bit, but popping in to say hi, making myself some dang spaghetti. Well, you have fun with that, Ignar. Cooking streams can be fun. I've always wanted to do one, but I feel like last few kitchens I've lived in have not been very conducive to that kind of thing. So, I mean, before this place, the last place I was living in, literally our kitchen was a nightmare to cook in. We would set off the fucking smoke alarms pretty much every time we cooked. And that's not even like without burning anything. It was just because we had a gas stove and it was one of those combination fire alarms, CO2 alarms, whatever they are. and it would just endlessly fucking thing, and you couldn't do anything to silence it either. Like, we tried, oh my god, we went through so many different attempts at that thing, and eventually we just got to the point where we were like very careful about cooking. Like, we would only cook if we could open all of the doors in the house. I can definitely outcook you. I cook for my woman all the time. I mean, I cook for my family quite often as well. I don't know. Maybe you could. Maybe you couldn't. I don't know. No way to know without testing it, right? Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. Every single time you hit that like button, it's a chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who engage in the chat. So please hit that button now if you haven't done it already. It really does help. Got lots of stuff in the news for us to talk about today, if that's what you guys want to talk about. Of course, it's a chat-based stream, so whatever you guys want to talk about is ultimately what we talk about. So throw up your topics in the chat. Super chat with questions you demand to have answered, or comments that you demand to have read. Join the discussion. Is this a trans? Yes, I am. I am indeed trans. I don't know why that's so interesting to people, but yeah. Like, at this genuinely at this point, I feel like trans people should be just about one of the most mundane things you can experience as an American. I feel like we're all over the place. We're not like a big chunk of the population, don't get me wrong, but that people still act like we're the rarest fucking thing in the world and like they've never seen a trans person in their life. That stuff still throws me off because I'm like, how is that possible? How is that possible living in the same America that I do, that I'm your first time? I'm your first time ever seeing a trans person and actually having a conversation with them. I mean, it's possible, you know, like I get that there's lots of people who've never had any experiences with a trans person, but I just feel like in the modern day, I would expect trans people to be more like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like familiar to people, I guess. Yeah, that works as well as anything does. Just stop killing people you don't agree with, bro. I ain't killed nobody. Don't do that guilt by association shit to me. I didn't kill a single motherfucker. And my entire life as a streamer, I've spent advocating for peaceful, pacifistic resistance. So don't even fucking fuck with me on that shit. Don't even try to pin that shit on me, little bitch. That is not the way I play. Never been the way I play. Not only that, but you don't even know that shooter was a lefty. For all you know, because this is what all the rest of us know, he could be just some crazy internet-addled loser that lived most of his life online and had an incredibly eclectic set of opinions that didn't make a whole lot of sense if you analyzed them throughout the course of his life. I'm not going to believe a single fucking word of this he's a leftist narrative until we hear it out of his mouth or his lawyers' mouths. The shooters are most likely a Reddit user. Well, yeah, definitely. I'll agree with you there. Yes, Tyler Robinson is definitely an internet-addled young man. That's for sure. Reddit would be the first thing like when I read what was on those bullet casings. That was the first thing that jumped to my mind was Reddit. And I'm not even a person who uses Reddit all the time. I mostly use Reddit to argue with like 2 or 3 snark communities that are like snark communities for a community I'm a part of. Not even this community. I don't even have my own snark community yet. I fuck around with somebody else's snark community and fuck on them and make fun of them and troll them and everything. And they make fun of me and troll me. And it's, a fun back and forth, but that's basically all I use Reddit for. But I have been on there long enough at this point and have seen enough of it and looked through enough people's comment history to know that Reddit is definitely a hive for that kind of person. It's like if you can manage to be somewhat civil and polite outside of like if you're a 4chan user and you want somewhere else you can have some more exposure to normies, but where you're allowed to say some pretty crazy shit, and to live a pretty terminally online life, Reddit is probably your best bet, honestly. Facebook, you're going to get banned, and there's that. Facebook's way too personal, too, and has been deeply deprioritizing troll accounts for a really long time. So YouTube, I mean, you really don't have, once again, too personal, like you've got to go to a lot of links to depersonalize your shit on YouTube. So what is really left for a person like Tyler Robinson that's obsessed with the internet, lives most of their life online, is probably constantly on, 4chan's poll boards and shit. What is good normie social media for them to be using? Reddit. Good guess. We don't know for sure, but it's not going to surprise me when that comes out. Dude had a trans furry boyfriend. I think it's safe to bet he wasn't a conservative. Not necessarily. Not based on that alone. Nick Fuentes is a fucking furry. You realize Nick fucking Fuentes is a furry? So even if we're just going to assume that that's correct, which, by the way, none of that shit is actually confirmed. None of that shit is actually confirmed. But let's just say that it is true. That doesn't mean fuck all. Not necessarily. I will admit, it does suggest that it might be someone on the left, but it doesn't scream it. It doesn't exclude the possibility that it's conservative. We get furries calling other furries furries before GTA 6. Shit, dude. Crazy, isn't it? So in other words, the shooter was a 20-year-old. Yeah, exactly, Riley. Well, I mean, I don't know, Riley. Do you really think all 20-year-olds are like that? Because I don't. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I know a lot of, here's the thing. I know when I was going through that age, I was going through a pretty severe time of political change in my own mind, right? I was evolving into a, what I now consider to be a smarter person. I was definitely building on my beliefs, and I was going a good distance away from where I the path I'd been put on by my parents, right? In terms of my political leanings, social leanings, that kind of thing. I know 20 is definitely an age of transition. It's definitely an age where people grow up and establish new things and get new ideas in their head. But I don't know that every 20-year-old is spending as much time as this kid was on the internet. I know it is a big fucking problem. It is a huge problem. But the thing that makes me wonder, right, is I will see people doing things out in the world, right? And I also see people that are not necessarily doing things out in the world, but that are on the internet, but not really participating in the internet. That's a thing I see all the time. Like the vast majority of people I know who are on the internet, and even those, some of these people are people who are looking at this shit pretty regularly too. This is not just people who are occasionally visiting TikTok. This is all kinds of folks. All kinds of folks I know that use the internet are not super heavily involved in participating deeply with the internet. They're not trolling. They're not, out there arguing with people or whatever. I think that kind of internet participation might still be a pretty small percentage of people. I think that it's a growing percentage of people, but I still think it's pretty small. Because if you go to a county fair or something like that, you're going to see plenty of people that are only pulling their phones out to take a picture, or that maybe they're on their phones or whatever, but you can tell they're at least halfway involved in what's going on around them. So clearly they're not deeply invested in some kind of 14-page long internet drama, I feel like those kinds of people are still the majority. So make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. If half of you guys hit that like button immediately, we'd have 35 likes on top of the, 16 we already have right now. So that'd be fucking 51 likes instantly. Please hit that like button. It really does help. The ones to blame are the people that demonize political opinions instead of debating them and letting the people choose on both sides. I don't know about other people, but I know that that's the type of atmosphere that I try to foster here. I try to provide an environment where people with different opinions can have arguments that are not bounded by language policing, So if you want to call me a retard, that's fine. Just don't act offended when I call you one, Or if you're going to act offended, keep going. Don't be a pussy. That's basically the only rule here is be yourself, be who you actually are, and don't be a pussy. Those are the vibe rules. Those are the vibe rules. As far as like the textual rules, like the shit that'll actually get you insta banned, that shit is readable, original, and interesting, and I feel like that's easy as pie. In fact, I think I put it. I did something the other day. I don't know if it went through, but I did something where I added the little like channel guidelines or whatever. I don't know if it comes up when you enter the stream now, but I did it, so here's hoping. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, like we should be able to talk with each other and to be ourselves without getting our fucking panties in a twist, one way or the other. Like, you should not have your panties in a twist just because I'm a trans woman, and I should not have my panties in a twist because you have your panties in a twist, right? It's kind of a give and a take kind of thing. Tolerance is a really fucking difficult road to walk. And really, there are very, very few beliefs that I don't think we should be tolerant towards. I think that, like there does come a point where you're basically advocating Hitler shit, Like once you get to the point where you're being a Nazi, at that point, I think it makes sense for society to kind of discourage that kind of speech. But I think any speech that calls for a policy which if enacted would violate the established civil rights laws of the United States. You know what I mean? There you go. Even then, though, understand that that's just me throwing out a way that we might figure out how to maybe like actually codify that into legislation. Understand nobody's ever going to do that in America. And I kind of like the fact that nobody's ever going to do that in America. We are really dedicated to this idea of freedom of speech. Well founded or not, we're very dedicated to the idea. I think it is a good idea, though. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that sometimes it's counterproductive, I think, to the goals of having a free and robustly just society. But it's also, I think, important to having those things. Important to having a free and robustly just society is the right to say whatever you want and to disagree with the powers that be. No matter how horrible the things you're advocating for might be in practice, I do think that there is some utility in protecting that kind of speech. Um, I don't know though. It's something I wonder about all the time nowadays. What with like our country sliding deeper and deeper into fascism, our country becoming less and less of a free place. I do start to wonder, right? Would there not be and really I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle. So let me put it this way. Would there maybe have been some kind of use in codifying what kind of speech is hate speech? Would there have been a use? Because I usually advocate against the idea of hate speech, not the idea that speech can be hateful. No, certainly speech can be hateful, but the idea that somebody should pass a law to lock people up for saying the wrong thing, which is what a hate speech law is. And I think I still advocate for that. I still think it's pretty fucked up to throw somebody in prison because they said the word faggot or whatever. Not least of all because I can say it without any hateful intention whatsoever. Is there going to be an intention court? I don't think so. So it's a difficult topic, On the one hand, you want to preserve the beautiful freedoms that this country has become so well known for, many of the things that we value most. And you really don't want to really don't want to open up that bottle, right? You really don't want to tempt that fate because I feel like it could be a slippery slope where you start targeting speech that is actively in contravention of civil rights law, and then the next administration comes along and they start targeting speech that is against them, and the precedent to target speech has already been established. And unless that precedent was really well written and really specific in its interpretation, that could be pretty easily misused pretty fucking quickly. Revert to factory settings. How about this? You live however you want to live, and I will live however I want to live. Does that work for you? I'm not going to answer you until you can learn to type the word "your" correctly. If you can learn how to type the word "your" correctly and use it correctly in that sentence, I'll answer you. Yeah, but it's a mean joke, and it's meant to make fun of people with mental illness, and it's meant to suggest that I'm fucking crazy, and I fucking hate shit like that. I feel like the internet is utterly full of that kind of free-floating fucking hostility, that kind of free-floating hatred for absolutely no reason. I didn't come at that motherfucker, but here he is coming at me for something he doesn't even know fuck all about. Motherfucker doesn't even know if I have anxiety. And he's gonna say, "Is that your anxiety pin?" It's a stupid fucking joke. Maybe somebody would find it funny. I guess I could understand if it was funny, if it was like combined with some other element, if I was like acting anxious in some other way. But by itself, it's just some self-righteous shit. And if you're gonna type some pretentious, self-righteous fucking bullshit like that, I'm going to ask you to, at the very least, present it to me correctly in the Queen's English. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. If you haven't hit it already, please do that right now. It really does help the channel, and it really does help the stream. Every single time you hit that button is another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people that engage in the chat. So please hit that now if you haven't done that already. Please and thank you. Whee! And also consider sending a super chat if you haven't, or if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, because I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So I'm not going to like call for the assassination of a politician or something like that. But short of that, super chat me, whatever. New rule: no PFP equals ban. Too many no pics or bots. You know what, Riley? If you want to enforce that, I'm not going to stop you. I will say, try and, if you can, be judicious with it. You know, like if you see somebody that looks like they're trying to contribute to the conversation, especially if they're being clever or something like that, you know, if they're otherwise following all the rules to a T and they're being good chatters, you don't have to ban them. But if it's just somebody being a dumbass and they're on thin ice and they've got the no PFP, ban them. Get them out of here. You look like you had McDonald's twice today. Do I have like a quarter pounder dripping out of my skin or something? Like, what do you mean? You realize people can get fat for a variety of reasons, right? Like the equation to getting fat is not human being plus McDonald's equals fat. The equation to getting fat is human being plus sedentary lifestyle plus bad diet equals fat. That's the equation, okay? Occasionally, it can be due to some kind of hormonal imbalance or something like that. I'm assuming that's probably not the case in my particular case. I think it's because I like very calorically dense foods like mashed potatoes and pizza and bread and shit like that. Food is a big part of it. I never said it wasn't, but the idea that you have to eat fucking fast food to get fat is just like a misunderstanding of weight, I think. Because I know so many fucking people that were fat as the fucking moon that I never saw eating fast food. But I've also seen plenty of motherfuckers that were fat as the fucking moon, and that was clearly their vice. Like, you can overeat with fast food. That's not my point. My point is not fast food's good for you. My point is that fast food is really fucking horrible for you, but it's not the way every motherfucker on this fucking planet gets fat. In fact, I would argue that it's probably not the main. Well, it might be the main route of transmission, not transmission, but you get what I mean. It might be the main way that people start getting fat. Honestly, it might be a primary way here in America, but I don't think it's the only way. I would be willing to wager that there's at least a third of Americans who can trace their weight gain directly to the meals that they cook at home, which is, like I said, the case for me. All of the weight that the vast majority of how heavy I am now comes from like 14 to 24, I would say. And in those years, I was eating almost nothing but food I cooked at home or somebody cooked at home. You gained a bunch of weight from eating at the restaurant you worked at? I mean, yeah, if you're surrounded by calorically dense food and you're not paying attention to it and you're eating legitimately every time you get a hunger pang, you can really fucking like add up the pounds super fucking quickly. I mean, just idly eating in general is one of the worst ways to treat your body because of that very reason. And luckily, that's one of those things I used to be real bad about it. These days, I'm really not. These days, if I am absolutely starving in the morning, I will get me something to eat. But otherwise, I eat once a day at dinner, and then I might eat like again, maybe a couple hours later. But I save all of my eating time to like 4 hour window, roughly. What's up, Mr. Whale? That's Mrs. Whale to you, and I don't know. What's up, hillbilly? You found a dentist plan that includes fucking, or I'm sorry, you found an insurance plan that includes dental yet? Plan on getting them teeth fixed? An exercise? I'm not as sedentary as some people, but I don't like get out there and do exercises on purpose usually, no. I mean, I live on like 2 acres and, we've got animals and stuff like that. So there's a lot of like physical exertion to my life, but, you know, that's season dependent too. And there's been a lot less physical exertion in my life this year because I'm, taking care of my son throughout the daytime. Just less time to do shit out in the yard and to do stuff around the farm. So this year I've admittedly been less active than in the last couple of years of my life, which I think is actually kind of, I hate to talk about this when there's so many people in here, but well, actually I don't because I love the attention, but I think it's been actually kind of like affecting my mental health. I feel like I've been kind of a husk of a person over the last 3 months, more or less. Just like, so part of it's the heat of the summer. I know that because I fucking hate summer. I can't stand it. God, I used to love summer so much, but that is when I was on the road or when I was living in Missouri. Nowadays, I hate it. Now that I'm back to living in Mississippi, God, I hate summer so much. It's endless. Down here, summer is like 5 fucking months long and it's constant humidity the whole time. And it's constant humidity in the winter too, but it's like 10% less humidity. And, it's cold. So, like, you don't notice it as bad. But in the summer, it's just fucking miserable. I know that's got to be part of it. But I feel like another big part of it is that thing we were just talking about. Me not being as active as I normally would be. Because normally throughout the summer I would be doing all kinds of shit around the farm, basically, like even if it's just raking or clearing out new areas because we're in the process of restoring our homestead to its former glory from like pre my parents' divorce, basically. Working through 10 or 12 or whatever, how many it's been, years worth of vegetation is normally quite the workout, but I haven't been able to do any of that kind of thing this year. And like I said, I just think it has like a negative effect on my mental health because I'm very much used to like spending most of my day outside doing something, or if not most of the day, then a good chunk of the day. Nowadays, I can still go outside, I can still do stuff, but there's less stuff that I can do. The summer in Denver in the early 2000s was lovely. I was just a child in the early 2000s, and I'd certainly never been to Denver, but you just conjured up an image in my head, because I have been to Denver in the summer, and honestly, as a Mississippi girl, I gotta tell you, I thought Denver in the summer was perfectly fine all the way back in 2023, okay? As recently as 2023, I thought summer in Denver was pretty fucking nice compared to what I'd been dealing with most of my life. It really is a profound difference. If you've never experienced it, then I understand. But if you ever experienced the heat and humidity of the South, that deadly combination, you'll understand. You'll understand. And if you spend like more than 2 weeks there, dude, by the time you get back to the mountains, you'll literally want to go up. You'll want to go up to the collegiate range and just kiss them. You'll be kissing Harvard Mountain before the day's over, dude. God loves you, but don't be delusional. You are a man. You are the one who is delusional, my friend. You are the one who has an opinion that flies in the fucking face of science, both when it comes to the matter of God and the matter of trans people. When it comes to the matter of God, the very cell phone that you're typing on right now disproves the notion that God could be true. You understand the way we fucking source plastics and well, petroleum, really, like all the different things we get from petroleum. Think about everything that includes: plastics, diesel, gasoline, kerosene, jet fuel, all of these different products that are needed to get your fucking ass into this chat on a cell phone. All of those things are drilled up using a technology that is used to date sediment beds and layers, strata layers, basically, in geological strata. They take those, they drill an area that they know, due to some kind of surface level sign or previous detections of appropriately dated rock, drill in an area that they suspect will have oil, look for rocks that they know to be dated to right around the time when oil was being formed. The more of those they find, the more likely they are to actually hit oil on some kind of exploratory drill. And that technology is what enables the oil industry to continue to pump oil out of the earth. The oil industry pumping oil out of the planet is what allows the internet to exist. It's what allows modern civilization to exist. The science used in dating those layers of geological strata is reliable. It has to be, in order for the industry to reuse it time and time and time again in order to find more oil. The science is clearly reliable. And when they use those testing methods, they are working in terms of millions of years, which means the Bible cannot be true. That means literally the biblical account cannot be true. It has to be a fable. It has to be a myth. It has to be mythology. It has to be bullshit on some level. It is not factual. At best, it's metaphorical. At worst, it's Bronze Age bullshit meant to condemn you to a life servitude to other people. I just destroyed your entire religion in a few paragraphs. How does that feel? I wouldn't know. I've never had my entire worldview shattered with a hammer like that, but you just got that. So, like, how did that feel? No arguments, just insults. No arguments, just insults. I just made an incredibly good argument. I pointed out that the technology that you are typing on right now is predicated on science that proves the idea that the planet is far older than the Bible says, that disproves the notion that anything in the Bible can be taken as fact because basic premises of it are wrong. And you have presented no arguments, none of you. I have not read a single actual fucking response argument out of the chat. I'm about to look again, And remember, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read or answered, now would be a great time to super chat, because your fucking argument will become part of the discourse. I'm looking for people making an argument against what I just said. Modern technology, modern civilization is predicated on science that must be reliable, repeatable, etc., in order for society to function, because they have to be able to continue pulling up oil out of the planet for everything to work. And that science works in terms of millions of years, meaning the planet cannot have been created in 7 days. It certainly cannot have been created 6,000 years ago. It certainly could not have been created by a god, because a god, as described in the Bible, would have created things at specific times that the layers of strata disprove. We know for a fact that life has existed over the course of millions of years, and that all of the animals that are said to have coexisted did not. We know that the order of animals as described in Genesis is not the way animals actually evolved. Well, all life did not start with fish. All life started with self-replicating proteins. Yeah, don't spam in here. Send your message tactically. There's nothing wrong with repeating a message, but send it tactically, or write it in a super chat. For real. I agree, all life did not start as a fish. Fucking duh. Like I said, all life on this planet ultimately reduces back down to a complex set of repeating proteins that itself probably, I wouldn't say evolved, but emerged from some kind of cycle going on the planet. I don't know. That's one of the interesting things about the theory of abiogenesis, is that we don't know everything. It's one of those things we know very fucking little about, because, self-replicating proteins are not exactly known for their capacity to leave hardcore fossils. What I'm thinking will eventually be found out is that there is some kind of material that is the product of these self-replicating proteins. Because if we know anything about evolution, and we know quite a bit about evolution, it takes millions upon millions of years. And a biofilm only takes 1 year to build up a layer that you can see with the naked eye. Millions of years? There should be yards worth of material all over this planet that is the result of these early self-replicating proteins and their waste and die-off stages and all that. Once that is discovered, it'll be really fucking interesting to read about how that's connected to abiogenesis and these self-replicating protein patterns and all this shit. But that is where it all that's where it all began. It's not a fish. That's what the Bible tells you. The Bible says in Genesis that that the first creatures God created were the fish. That's not what evolution tells you. That's a damned far sight from what evolution tells you. Hunter Bidum. I have to admit, I like your name. Phoebe, Phoebe, you are correct. We don't know everything, so why do you so confidently say there isn't a God when nothing in the Bible has been disproven so far? I just pointed out something in the Bible that's been disproven, bro. I literally just pointed out something in the very beginning story of the Bible. It's the first couple of pages. The first couple of pages in the Bible describe a false fucking vision for the emergence of the planet. The planet was not created by God. We know for a fact that the planet emerged from the ruins of the Big Bang, basically, from the ruins of universal expansion, which is still going on. We also know that. We know that because every time we measure the fucking distance because we can, it's weird, right? But we have the ability now to extrapolate exactly how far away the edge of the universe is. And every single time we do it, it's always farther away. It's always so much farther away that we know the universe moves farther faster than anything else in the universe. The universe itself, the universe's own boundaries are the fastest moving thing in the universe. Think about that. I mean, it's wild. It's incredibly wild. But that alone, like, we have so many scientific discoveries that disprove the account of Genesis. So, like, you're telling me the very first book in the Bible does not provide an account that stands up to the barest fucking scrutiny by science, but the rest of the Bible is trustworthy? I can't take that seriously, bro. I'm sorry, I just can't. Bro, you're in a dress. This is not a dress. I'm sorry you're retarded, okay? But I'm not the one who dropped you on your head when you were little, all right? No, I'm for real though. This is not a dress. This is a blouse, okay? Stop being blind for 1 second and look. I don't know. Maybe you really can't tell. I am wearing black shorts, so maybe it's just not that obvious. I don't care if you think it's a dress or not, frankly. I'm not even going to bother responding to those anymore. Like, what do I give a shit if you guys think I'm in a dress or a shirt or whatever? Like, fuck it. Y'all ain't going to make the distinction. You're fucking chimpanzees. Why would I, you know? It's like trying to fucking explain algebra to a gorilla. I'm never gonna get anywhere with you people. Not on this front, so. Yeah, what's up, spooky spooks? But yeah, no. Why do I express that so confidently, though? Because when it comes to the biblical account, spooky spooks, I think that irrefutably has to be metaphor. Like I said, at best it's metaphor. So spooky, if you're a Christian, you can rest assured that maybe it's metaphor. Maybe that's just the way that the biblical writers chose to represent. Like, let's say there is a God, which I don't believe. I don't think that while I don't think science has definitely well, I don't think science has definitively disproven the idea of a God, nor do I ever expect it to, because science really isn't in the business of disproving things, right? It's in the interest of learning more about our universe. Um, but while science has yet to specifically disprove the idea of God, a lot of the specific claims made in the Bible have been refuted, have been widely, loudly, and intricately refuted. Let's see, I got a super chat. Let me read that. Conrocha, thank you so much for your $2. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Money for you. Ooh, ooh. Excuse me. What happened to these last few generations? Well, mostly we stopped being so stupid, mainly. I know that sounds harsh. I don't even mean that to be a dunk on you, but if you just look at the fucking literacy rates, like, more generations have more access to fucking, like, well, maybe not the literacy rates, but if you look at the access to information, I guess, and I would argue if you look at the literacy rates for um, like Gen X and millennials, and I would probably say even early Gen Z, I bet you would see a pretty high literacy rate. And hell, you might see a pretty high literacy rate out of later Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids too. I don't know. I don't know what the literacy rate is amongst teenagers right now, but I know that the literacy rate among American adults is pretty fucking low right now. Like, honestly, 60% of American adults read at or below a fourth grade level. That's, across all generations and everything. So I would be interested to know if some of the, like, reading initiatives that have been around since the 80s and that have been amplified in the 90s and the early 2000s, I would be interested to see if any of those have had like a major effect on our literacy rates. So I don't want to base too much of my argument on that, but my point is there's more access to information now than there ever was in your childhood. I'm assuming, with a comment like that, you got to be like in your 60s or something like that, which would not shock me because a lot of people that watch me are 20 years older than me, 40 years older than me. My demographics are actually kind of shocking. You would expect it be all people my age, but no, it's mostly older people. It's mostly middle-aged and older people listening to me, which is that's cool, I guess. Not to say there aren't plenty of fucking skibbity ass kids too, but it's widely distributed and nice and evenly, and the only place there is kind of a slight bump is there. So it's kind of neat, it's not what I've predicted, but I'm guessing that you're probably in your 60s saying something like, what's happened to these last few generations, and if you think about what someone born in like 1955 would have had access to when they were 20, they would have had access to, let's see, what would you have had access to in 1975? The library. That's it, right? Like, you would have had access to the library, reference books, if your parents had any reference books or anything like that. If your church has a little church library or anything like that, you'd have access to that. List more examples that disprove the Bible. Okay, how about the fact that how about the fact that we know evolution is true because we've witnessed it in concurrent generations of salamanders in California, and we've witnessed it broadly over the course of generations through the categorization of science. Just like the existence of evolution disproves the idea that God created a thing, because we know for a fact that species are continuing to speciate, because species are continuing to adapt. Everything is constantly adapting, because all adaptation is nature naturally having a tendency to see. Okay, I'm going to read the super chat real quick, and then hopefully I'm going to remind myself. If I ask to be reminded, my brain is on the intentionality that people place on evolution. Okay, that's the phrase. Say that, and I will remember what I was thinking about. Okay, the intentionality that people place on human evolution and just evolution in general. Okay, Conrocha with the $5. Thank you. I appreciate your fucking super chats always. I do. Thank you. Hey, didn't the rapture happen recently? Goes to show all these dicks were left behind. They didn't make the cut. Yeah, I know, dude. What do you guys feel about that, by the way? You guys got rope-a-doped. Once again, another bunch of fucking crazy Christians went around telling everybody the rapture was going to happen, and look at you. All sitting around in my chat. Yet another day in a row. I don't know. I don't even get how Christians get suckered into that shit anymore. Your Bible tells you not to get suckered into that shit. Do not fret about the hour of your death, for it will come like a thief in the night. I don't know if I got the passage exactly right, but you get the idea. It's in the Bible somewhere. I think it's Revelation, maybe, but it's somewhere in the good book, and it's basically saying, don't worry about the end of the world or about your own death, because that shit is not something that you get the predictive ability about. God knows when the fuck that's going to happen, but he's not going to tell you, not least of all because it would ruin the enjoyment of the rest of your life. It would ruin whatever chances you might have to improve society. At least that's my interpretation of it as a secular person who looks at the Bible as a weird example of, if not morality, then it's like a discussion piece for morality. It's like a sounding board for one's personal morality. The Bible is a good way to tell what you actually fucking believe in, because there's stuff I think everybody can get behind, there's stuff that only some people can get behind, and there's stuff that I think we should universally fucking be repellent towards. And I think somebody's analysis of all these different fronts and the way that they interpret them can say a lot about a person. I think it can also help a person develop their own mindset in a way. I think there's a utility, in other words, for an atheist like myself to have the Bible as a reference material. You're not as intellectual as you pretend? Okay. Great argument, bud. Wow, you've convinced me. Color me convinced. As a Christian, you're ashamed of some of the more crazy Christians? Well, don't feel like you have to account for them personally. What you have to do is start advocating for a better way in your church and others. We need the righteous Christians that are left in America to stand up against these bigots. We need the righteous Christians that are left in America to stand up against fascism. We need the righteous Christians left in America to do as Jesus called you to do and overturn the tables of the moneylenders and the temple, because your temples have a lot of moneylenders. What is fascism? Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy, defined it as an incestuous kind of marriage between corporate power or capital and state power. They become one and the same, interests interlocked, sometimes openly, sometimes secretly, with the pretense, the public pretense, that they remain separate entities. This pretense was the kind of pretense that existed, for example, in Nazi Germany to some degree, but also exists now and is becoming worse in our current United States. And this is not to say things have gotten as bad as they were in Nazi Germany. I'm not an alarmist like that. What I'm saying is that fascism, as an evolving philosophy, if you can call it that, as an evolving tendency of late-stage capitalism, I'll say, as an evolving tendency, like all human society and every social precept we have, it is always evolving. It is showing new signs now. It's presenting itself differently than it used to. There's less violence involved, but make no bones about it, there's still a bunch of crazy fucking violence involved. These deportations are as close as America's ever gotten to doing something on the level of Nazi Germany. And, it's like, I don't know. Like, at what point are we not invoking Godwin's law anymore, but rather just like warning the people of like some worrying signs? And once again, this is not me saying that things are as bad as they were back then. I recognize that things are still pretty fucking cool here, considering the fact that I can even fucking put this theory out there, right? That in itself proves that things are still going okay enough, I guess. But make no bones about it, Trump wants to take us down that fucking path. He wants to. If he didn't, why is he trying to target all of leftism right now with things like this executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist group, despite the fact that Antifa is not a group, it's a fucking label, which means that Trump is basically using an executive order to universally target leftists as a whole. Anybody who's ever called themselves Antifa, anybody who's ever allied themselves with that label, anything like that, that's every leftist. That's every fucking far leftist. That's a lot of liberal organizations. Fuck leftists, that's a bunch of liberal organizations. I'm not saying fuck leftists literally. You get what I mean? I'm just saying, like, put them aside for a second. There are going to be Dem orgs that get targeted as part of this. Trump basically fucking reinstated COINTELPRO, and nobody's fucking talking about it. Kyle talked about it a little bit, but I don't hear any fucking body else talking about it. Not with the amount of seriousness that it deserves. This is fucked. This is fucked. Everything that's been happening in the administration since the fucking Charlie Kirk assassination has been fucked. But even the shit that was going on before this shit was so fucked. Think about the fact that Donald Trump is heavily fucking implicated in this, or at least implied to be implicated in all of this crazy fucking like pedo ring shit with Epstein. Think about how wild that shit is, just on its own. What a fucking bombshell that shit is. How corrupt that means things are. All the signs that comes with that, all the indicators that represents. And then think about this shit. The massive fucking surge against free speech that's happened. The big giant chilling campaign against anti-Charlie Kirk free speech that's been going on ever since his assassination. You're supposed to act like this guy was some kind of good guy now, even though he was going around saying he wouldn't trust a female black pilot because there's no way she could be qualified. I guess because the FAA, you know them, they love to just hand out licenses for fucking brownie points with black folk. That's the FAA's big gig. It's not ensuring that the skies over America are safe. What the are these people literally fucking higher than I am? Even? Because I'm stoned to the bone and I don't fucking get where these people are fucking coming from. It's racist, dog whistling, Nazi bullshit. Now, does that mean I'm glad he went out the way he did? No, I'm a free speech absolutist. I think you have the right to be wrong. But am I all fucking broken up about it? Hell no. And I'm not going to pretend like I am either, for the sake of conservative feelings. When have they ever done that for fucking leftists? When have you guys ever done that for lefties? When's the last time a conservative shed a fucking salty tear for a single leftist or Democratic candidate or activist who was killed or otherwise maimed? In fact, when that shit happens, you guys laugh. So you expect me to be all broken up now that one of your fucking conservative heroes has been killed? I'm sorry. I don't think it should have happened that way. But I ain't sad he's gone, motherfucker. That motherfucker had horrible, hateful shit to say about people like me. Probably had horrible shit to say about a person like you. Unless you're rich, white, and Christian. He probably had some white, or you had to be white, usually male, Christian, or Jewish. And then, okay, you were probably safe from any real criticism from Charlie Kirk. As long as you match those criteria. Anybody else? He's probably said some awful shit about you. So stop lionizing this motherfucker like he was some kind of good guy. He was a piece of shit that made his money grifting people on the right wing and made his name convincing a bunch of fucking lost young men, mostly, on college campuses to follow his particular brand of neoconservative bullshit. Have you ever watched him speak? I've watched a lot of Charlie Kirk, my friend. The most recent thing I watched was his debate with Vosh. So that's the the piece of Charlie Kirk content I'm most familiar with right now at this second, because that's the most recent one I've watched. No, I didn't misunderstand the man. I heard him loud and clear. I know what a dog whistle is. Not only that, though, I know what conservative fucking argumentation is. I know what hiding your power level is. I'm just too well versed in this shit. When conservatives talk their crazy shit, dude, if you listen, here's the fucking thing that makes me feel so vindicated about this feeling when it comes to conservative demagogues. I don't think this necessarily about the voters. So if you're just a conservative voter out there, just a regular fucking person on the ground like me, I'm not necessarily talking about you. I'm talking about like the demagogues and shit, okay? The talking heads. There is a tendency among conservative talking heads, and once you notice it, you'll never unsee it. And I challenge you guys to go through and really do this, okay? Pay attention to the way they structure their arguments and the type of arguments that they make when they're arguing with a leftist or a liberal versus when they're arguing with a hardcore conservative or when they're in an in-group conversation where there's no hostility. The arguments are radically different. Radically different. And that's because conservatism already doesn't stand up to much leftist scrutiny. So you have to kind of clean it up a little bit to make it even fucking work as a debate. Excuse me. Kudos to you for knowing more about the Bible than most Christians. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it just comes from having grown up as a Christian and paying attention to the book, you know, like call it like whatever. I'm autistic. That may have played into it because like I have like a deep desire to understand anything that I'm made to feel is important to my life, you know? So that may have played into it. Plus, like the just endless ability to sit there and read, lose myself for hours in it. But I don't know. Like, I don't get why it's not an expectation among Christians to just know this shit inside and out. And I don't understand why it's not an expectation among Christians that you should act this shit out. Because Jesus gives very specific instructions to his followers. Yes, what qualifies you for heaven is belief in Jesus, repentance, etc. Like that whole cycle, you know, being washed in the blood of the Lamb and all that. That's what gives you salvation. But what makes you a good Christian is not just like showing up to church every Sunday. What makes you a good Christian, according to Jesus Christ, is, well, all of the lessons about morality that he laid out in the New Testament. You know, don't be vindictive to thieves. Let them go with what they've stolen. In fact, if you have a chance to stop them, forbid them not to leave without more, so that they will be less hungry and maybe inconvenience less people. You know, be gracious to your enemies, things like this. You know, don't mistreat foreigners in your lands. I see so many of these morality lessons in the Bible coming out of Jesus' mouth, but then I don't see a whole lot of Christians actually applying those lessons in their real life to the way they treat other people. Thank you for the $1.99. I appreciate that. Cute dress, bro. Well, it's not a dress, but I appreciate the $2. Thank you so much. $12.99. Dude, what if we could get up to 50 tonight? What if that happened? Somebody would have to fucking drop a crazy one on us, probably. But you know what? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. We've been doing okay lately. Oh, speaking of doing okay, make sure you guys hit that like button if you haven't hit it already. Every single time you hit that like button, so chances in the stream out to even more people, which increase the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people engaged in the chat. Whether you like me or hate me. If you like me, hit the stream because you like me. And it's just a natural thing to do. If you dislike me, hit the stream so you get more fucking awful haters that hate my fucking ass to come in here and argue with me. You know? Either way, it's in your best interest. So you're going to make any new long-form content? Yeah, I do plan on making some more long-form content, actually. I actually thought about a video that I kind of wanted to just, like, do spontaneously earlier, but I talked myself out of it. But, like, I don't feel like I'm actually smart enough to do this shit. But, once I had that realization, I then had another epiphany, which was like, neither is anybody else. There's all kinds of motherfuckers making content on YouTube, don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Doesn't seem to stop any of them from having audiences. And so, I'm just gonna like do my best and issue corrections when I have to and shit. And getting over that kind of idea that I need to be the most thorough person that has ever fucking documented a thing is like kind of helping me to, I don't know, envision myself doing more long form content in the future. There's definitely some topics that I've written down that I want to explore, that I want to do the research for and collate into a video. So look forward to it. We've got 2 more super chats. Thank you so much. Stop spreading nonsense. Go live your life. Dude, this is me living my life. I live my life however I want. You live your life however you want. Maybe lose some weight so you could fit in your dress better. I think I fit in this dress pretty well, my friend. If I do say so myself, I think I fit in this blouse A-okay. Who cares how dumb they are? Why should their hate be free? Exactly. Exactly. And listen, buddy, once you learn that fucking trick, by the way, that is one of those things that, like, once you figure out that hater money pays just as fucking good as lover money does, as fan money does, Oh man, you can make some real fucking bank just pissing people off, just having contrary opinions and being open about it. I actually got this blouse from a Goodwill, believe it or not. To be happy a human died, there is just something wrong inside you, period. That's wicked, that's evil inside. I didn't say I was happy about it. I said I wasn't broken up, which I ain't. I said I would be lying if I said I was broken up about it, which I would be, because I'm not broken up about it. What's up, always clucking around? Everybody should be living with happiness. Being fulfilled by the life you live is the best preparation for what might come after living. That's what the Egyptians believed. The Egyptians believed that you should try to live your life as pleasantly and as well as possible, because whatever you did in life was coming with you in the afterlife. So if you were a painter when you died, if that was your job when you died, or if you were retired as a painter, well, be ready to be a painter for Osiris. If you were a bricklayer, be ready to be a bricklayer, etc., etc. Your favorite trees would be there, your favorite little, if you had any nice little spots like that or anything like that, your house would be transferred to you if you got into the good part of the afterlife or whatever. So yeah, the Egyptians kind of believed a very similar thing to that, and it's I think it's an interesting thing to think. It definitely encourages living a really good, worthwhile life while you're actually here, which is a nice thing about it. Not hating on anyone, just don't agree with you. Hating on Charlie Kirk. That man died and had a family. Dude, that's not all that matters. That's not all that matters. When someone dies, you don't just disregard every fucking thing they ever said and did. What, is Hitler's death only just because he didn't have a wife and kids? You realize he had a girlfriend and a dog? You realize Hitler murdered his dog and his girlfriend before he died? Well, I guess you guys can obviously not make a moral argument for that. So it's just like, I'm not comparing Charlie Kirk to Hitler, by the way. I'm just pointing out that death alone is not a qualification for remorse or whatever. Like I said, I'm not happy about the way Charlie Kirk went. I don't think that he deserved to be shot dead like a dog on the street. I don't think he deserved that. And even if he did deserve that by some argument, I'm not saying he did, but even if someone would argue that he did on some level, I don't think that's how we do things in America. I just don't think that's how we do things in America. I don't think you shoot someone else. In my opinion, here's how I look at guns. They're tools, and if you're using it as a tool of self-defense, it should only fucking come out or become part of the conversation when someone else makes a gun part of the conversation. You should never be the first one to go for your gun, ever, in any situation. Unless you know they've got some kind of weapon that they're actively fucking going for and you can get it first, I guess. There's split-second kind of decisions like that I understand. But when it comes to, like, using them as some kind of, like, conversational lever or something like that, or using it, in this case, to blow someone's neck out and destroy their speech or whatever, that is fucked. That is wrong. I don't care if the target is Charlie Kirk or a homeless man on the street. You don't shoot somebody from fucking some building far away like a little pussy. And you certainly don't do it for saying what's on their mind. But with all that being said, I'm not fucking, like I said, I cannot bring myself to shed one fucking single salty tear about Charlie Kirk because he was a fucking monstrous dude when it came to his advocacy. Based gun opinion, I fuck with that. I didn't even hear what I said. I didn't even hear what I said. What did I? I don't even know what I said that was based, but cool. Hell yeah. Right on. When I was talking about when it's valid to use it in a self-defense situation. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I'm a fucking, I'm a gun-toting hippie. You know what I mean? No guns in church, but if I ain't in Rainbow, you know what I mean? Like, there's no need to go into it any further than that. You already get the implication. I don't know why people are so adamantly against letting others have basic human rights, then use the Bible as a reason. Because there are some people whose entire personal lives and everything they've built up in their life is predicated on a bunch of stupid fucking beliefs that come right out of that Bible. And a lot of them, I think, are misinterpretations of biblical teachings, but they're misinterpretations that have lasted generations, my friend. They've lasted generations, and so they are incredibly pernicious. It's hard to get rid of them. It's incredibly hard to convince other Christians that the problem is even there, because they are so used to just seeing it. Which reminds me, I was talking about something earlier, and none of you fuckers reminded me after I read the super chats. You evil bastards. But now that I've reminded myself of it, I'll bring it up here. Christianity taints the minds. I guess that's one way to look at it. It taints the minds of those who grow up believing in it or who are exposed to it heavily in their childhood. Taints is one way to say it. I guess you could say it affects, but it certainly leaves its mark on the minds of those who it has some exposure to. Jesus Christ, I'm so gassy today. In our childhood or at vulnerable moments in our adult life or whatever. And this expresses itself in so many ways. The way I see it most commonly express itself is people falsely attributing some kind of intentionality onto evolution. Evolution has no intention. There's no plan. Evolution is not a concept in the sense that it's like an active process that is held together by some kind of like intangible universal string. That's not how it works. Evolution is a process that is like described by science, an evidence-based process that we have described widely and observed, but it's purely an interaction between a bunch of other processes. And it's entirely consequence based. It's entirely consequence based. There's no intentionality to it at all. It's all randomness and chance, and that's why evolution takes millions of years. Because nothing mutates from a leg to a wing overnight. It has to first mutate from a leg to an arm, and then mutate from an arm to a less useful arm, and from a less useful arm to an even less useful arm. And you have to basically have vestigial arms in between having arms and having wings, and then eventually you start growing out feathers there that are sufficient enough to provide you with some kind, your population or whatever. So this is why, right? This is why I say that evolution does not have any kind of intentionality on it, is because you can see that it's entirely a result of what helps given individual in this situation. If this mutation helps it, then it goes on and it's spread. If it doesn't, then maybe it spreads, maybe it doesn't. And if it actively hurts it, it probably doesn't go very far. And the miraculous thing about it is that despite what our, I say our because I assume most people in my chat were probably raised Christian, despite our Christian raisings, our desire to place intentionality on every natural process, despite that, it's actually just a very simple physics-based, like predictable math equation kind of thing, you know? It's as simple as fucking cherry pie. Mutation good, benefit, then that mean reproduce. More of it. If it's benign, which most mutations are, by the way, then it probably doesn't fucking spread that far, but it might chill out in some of the species. If it hurts it, it's going away. And I think that that's probably where a lot of Christians get fucked up, is that they cannot help but look at natural processes as being an outgrowth of God's consciousness. And because they can't help but look at a natural process as an outgrowth of God's consciousness, they can't separate it from the idea of intentionality. But if evolution has intentionality, then evolution must be evil. No. Evolution cannot, by definition, be evil. Because it's not an actor. It's a process. It's what would happen whether we intervened or not. In fact, we've tried to intervene in the development of a whole bunch of species, and in some we've been successful, probably most successful with what we now call livestock, cows, horses, donkeys, chickens, that sort of thing, you know, pigs. That's been our most successful foray into fucking with evolution. But we've done it plenty of other times, and the weird thing about it is that every time we try to fuck with it, we end up creating something. Either we end up creating something that defies us in some unique way we never planned for, or we end up creating something that is entirely reliant on us because we've taken it out of the cycle of evolution. Perfect example is cows. Like modern day cows, like they survive predation in the in the West where there's like open ranges and shit, but it's theorized that a lot of that is just like the fucking low prevalence of wolves and the low prevalence of mountain lions these days. And they're both like largely extirpated from a lot of the areas where cattle are roaming, where cattle are roaming. I'm getting tired, can you tell? So there's just not as much shit to prey on them anymore. But cows are pretty vulnerable animals compared to the things that we bred them from. Like a buffalo, like a strong buffalo will just fight off a wolf pack. Like like a buffalo herd will, run sometimes from a wolf pack. You'll see it for sure. Like it's not like they're unknown to do it, because it is easier for them probably than fighting off the wolf pack, and they certainly have to endure less bites. But buffalo, you'll see them sometimes just get sick of running, and then you'll just see them like turn, and the wolves half the time end up turning the other direction themselves because they don't want to get trampled and gored to death by a buffalo, because a buffalo can fuck a wolf right the fuck up, fuck a mountain lion right the fuck up. So buffalo have more resistance to the predation. The aurochs that we bred cows from were larger, more robust, more similar to the American buffalo in a lot of ways, and were better able to defend from predators as a result of those adaptations. But the modern cow is like a slow-moving, smaller horned, less robust, fattier version. It's just like, it's super amazing and superior for human beings, but for nature, I mean, it might, like cows, chickens, a lot of these animals, well, not chickens necessarily, but cows, some breeds of pig, some breeds of rabbit for that matter. They're just some farm animals that, bro, we have turned into something that is like unrecognizable fundamentally that would not actually fucking survive a return to nature. But yeah, anyway, I don't know how I got off on the whole cows thing, but anyway. As a person with Tourette syndrome, I was always told that there was no cure. Do you think there will ever be one? No. Um, no, I don't think that I don't know that it's actually possible to cure someone of a mental illness. Now, maybe I'm wrong, because, 100 years before the Wright brothers took off from Kitty Hawk, people would have told you that, no, I do not believe it is actually possible for human beings to defy the laws of gravity in that way. Would that we could. It would be quite amazing, to be able to pilot your own craft in the air, a ship, if you will, up in the air. That would be very indeed. That would be very interesting. Hot air balloons for now, though. You know? So, who the fuck knows? Eventually, they will map out the entire human brain. They will know what every synapse and neuron does. And they'll know every chemical involved in making it work. And we're already getting close to that point now. And once they get to that point, I mean, who the fuck knows? I mean, I'll tell you what, there are way, 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 way more treatments available nowadays for mental health things and mental health related things than there were when I was a little kid. I remember when I was a kid, me and my mom used to play this game because I used to sit with her sometimes when she would watch my parents' store. Because at one point they had the little auction, but they also had a little store in that same town, like a little antique shop. Um, and I would sit and watch the store with her sometimes. I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And we would watch TV and everything when we were home and all that. And we would make fun of the commercials. And our favorite ones to make fun of were medicine commercials. Literally, that was the main genre. And the game was you had to ad lib a script for a commercial, and it was always funnier if whichever one of us was doing it could do the ad read at the end. That not the ad read, but the disclaimer read at the end. The price is $19.99 includes shipping and handling. Something like that. It was always funnier if you could do that. But anyway, I remember we used to make fun of mental health medications, but we really had like 3 or 4 or 5 different ones. I remember, I think, that we would base names off of. And nowadays, I feel like there's got to be hundreds of different medications on the market now for treating mental health conditions. I would be shocked if there's not. So will there ever be a cure? I seriously doubt it, unless they're able to isolate it to some very specific part of the brain that can be safely removed without affecting anything else in your brain, which is probably not the case, right? It's probably just how your brain works. In which case, no. But at some point, they might develop a treatment method for it, which would be, I mean, that'd be just as good, right? In my opinion, I say this as an autistic person, but um, the real question, in my opinion, is going to be when it comes to autists, because I think that certain varieties of autism are way more debilitating than other varieties, and I know varieties is not the right terminology to use. It's like, autism spectrum is it's a spectrum. It's right there in the name. It's a spectrum, and I get that. And I think at the low functioning end of that spectrum, I think that some curative medications would actually be really, really, really nice and really helpful for people that suffer in that way. I don't think, though, that it would be necessary to medicate any autistic person in general. You know, like, I think it would all be based on personal examination, basically, figuring out like individual examination, figuring out like which person actually needs this to function and be better. Excuse me, and which person already basically functions. Bunch of hypochondriacs, bro. What are you on about? Calling me a hypochondriac? What the fuck? Man, fuck you. I ain't no hypochondriac, bitch. Dude, I've got this fucking tagline for a tardive dyskinesia medication stuck in my head. As you go with Austedo. This video is not sponsored by Austedo. I don't take it. Because I don't have tardive dyskinesia. But, dude, I'll pimp your medication for you, though. Hit me up, drug companies. I'll pimp your shit. I don't give a fuck. My morals are for sale. I'm a cheap date, too. I'll shill your shitty depression medication for as low as $10,000. I hope you guys know I'm fucking kidding, okay? Oh shit. Now Shannon, do it more cringe like last time. What now? What's going on? Why so serious? What's your fucking problem? Who? What? I don't fucking care. Fucking yeah. Why so serious? It's like, I don't know. Why are you so fucking unserious? Come on, you people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown and accepted. You know what? Chat is being boring, so I'm just gonna play some songs. Fuck it. You guys are boring as an old cat turd. I mean, not all of you guys. Not, mods, exclude yourself. You know better. But the rest of you dumb fucks are fucking dry as I don't even know what. Dry as old. Literally, you know those old white dog turds you used to find? You'll still sometimes find them in low quality dog food. Like if you feed your dog low quality dog food, sometimes you'll still see them. Like these white, just crystallized stools. Literally, that's what chat is right now. It's those. It's a yard full of white, like owl pellet white, bleached owl pellet white. Fucking just, I don't even know. You guys are just dry. Drier than the Sahara. Drier than the fucking. Drier than a creek bed in fucking the middle of July. What you vaping? Pumpkin spice latte. I know. It actually does taste really good, though. Dude, you don't understand. This is it's a stream. I talk. It's like fucking, if you want to, oh my God, I hate it when people do this shit. Fuck you. I ain't scrolling up. Fucking pay me. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I'm not. Well, I am. But here's the thing, right? The only people who I really put like a tremendous amount of effort into reading the chats of are A, my mods, and B, people who super chat me. Honestly, it's probably people who super chat me are like a priority. But, other than that, it's mods. Other than that, your best chance is to wait until I'm looking at the chat and then have your message on your clipboard and paste it, hit enter. That's how you do it. That's how you work one of these streams. Because your mods delete any comment they think will hurt a full-grown man's feelings. Like your feelings are like deeply hurt by seeing a trans woman living her life online. Like those feelings, you mean? Is that what you're talking about? Notice how your comment's not banned yet. Notice how you've been in here talking shit all night and you have yet to be banned. I'm not dry, I'm just German. Pumpkin spice vape, Germany's missing out, I think. Well, to be fair, America's got like a very weird regulatory atmosphere for vapes and shit, It flip-flops and shit. But right now, you can get all kinds of weird flavors over here. But no, you get an excuse. You're having to like type things a little bit slower because you're having to, pay a little more attention. And you can speak multiple languages, so you get a pass, Huh. How would you say people, like a people, like the Dutch people or whatever, the, Russian people or whatever, in German these days? Because, like, I don't know if this is correct, but I think I remember hearing somewhere that Volk now has like a weird connotation thanks to the Nazis, and that it's like considered, like a little dog whistly depending on the context. So I'm assuming like the German people would not be Deutsche Volk or Deutsche Volk. I'm assuming it would not be that, but I don't know what it would actually be. Explain why you're calling Charlie Kirk a monster. What did he ever say that wasn't true? Explain. All kinds of shit. He claimed that he would be unable to trust a female black pilot because, like, the implication there being that the FAA prioritizes hiring the right kind of people and not qualified people, which is just not the fucking case, as evidenced by the fact that plane crashes really didn't start going up that much in the United States until after Donald Trump's takeover of the federal government. That led to a whole bunch of firings in the air traffic controller system, led to a whole bunch of job loss in that sector, led to a whole bunch of deregulation and shit, and then planes started coming down. It's been a bigger issue this year than it's been any other fucking year. And you can trace that directly to that as an example of Trump acting like his policy is going to be better on this, but the existent policy was actually far clear, like just obviously better, as evidenced by the fact that it's fucking, like, now that it's not there anymore, things are getting worse. So my argument against Charlie there would have been like, that's just a completely racist assumption, in my opinion. Like, that's based on nothing more than assuming that the only reason why a black person would get hired in that airline is because an airline needs to fill a quota. It's got nothing to do with their qualifications or something like that. That's an inherently racist assumption. Underlaid in all that is the idea that black people are just too stupid to fly a plane, and women are just too dumb to fly a plane, too emotional to fly a plane. Those are ideas that we would laugh out of the fucking room if they were coming from some old Southern man, some old hillbilly. We'd laugh him out of the room. But because it's Charlie Kirk, a 31-year-old dude who's able to couch it in the right way, depending on what audience he's talking to, people dismiss it. People don't think about it as the disgusting, bigoted, backwards, hillbilly shit that it is. But I do, because I was raised around plenty of backwards, bigoted, stupid hillbillies. Being from the great state of Mississippi, I know me my fair share of hillbillies. I literally just responded, Shannon. I don't know what you're talking about. Still doesn't explain anything. He didn't say anything that wasn't true. Most likely she's unqualified. That's literally untrue, Shannon. That's literally untrue, and I just demonstrated how that's untrue. Trump literally came in and replaced a bunch of fucking people working at the FAA and fired a bunch of people working at the FAA, fired a bunch of people working for general air traffic controllers in the United States, did a bunch of shit to fuck up the air traffic situation in America, the air regulation atmosphere in America. And since that day, since that time, there have been more plane crashes this year than there were last year by the same time. That's fucking wild. There's got to be some reason behind that. There's got to be something to that. So the policy Charlie Kirk was railing against was apparently pretty successful, because once it got changed, suddenly we start seeing planes falling out of the sky. It turns out, Shannon, in other words, that some of these underqualified black pilots and underqualified black and Hispanic air traffic controllers might have been pretty fucking necessary for the network, after all. Turns out they might have been more qualified than you were giving them credit for, because now that they're gone, now that the only people allowed to work at these institutions are Trump loyalists and white people, oh boy. Let me ask you this, Shannon. So they would probably be unqualified. Would your opinion change if they had on a MAGA hat? Like, just be honest with me. Like, let's say you were in a small plane where you could see the two captains, right? And you can see that the first officer and the captain are both two black women, okay? But you can also see that instead of their little pilot caps or whatever, they're both wearing MAGA hats, okay? Do you trust them more? I gotta know. I gotta know if the in-group loyalty trumps the racism. Man, Shannon ain't gonna answer me, but I wish she would. And I wish she'd just be honest with it, too. I wish she would just come on here and tell me, yeah, I suppose I would trust them more if they had a MAGA hat on. It's like, well, motherfucker, isn't that just fucking predictable, huh? Truth be told, I don't know what I'd do with her answer if she was that honest. I think my head might explode. Because that's the thing about these MAGA people. Dude, they'll put whatever fucking horrible shit they've been saying about your community aside, as long as you're willing to toe the fucking line. That's Blair White's whole grift. That's why Blair White exists. Because she figured out, dude, she's the trans Uncle Tom. Because she figured out that all she has to do is say anti-trans shit as a trans lady. And number one, she won't get shit from the conservatives for being trans. And number two, she'll make a shit ton of money. So it's like the perfect fucking scheme for her. And all she has to do is, like, I don't know, ritually sacrifice children to the devil once a month or something like that. I don't know what she's doing to, like, you know, abate for that fucking Faustian bargain, but because she's like losing her soul in the process. She's literally like selling herself out and her own safety out to the like immediate reward of like, well, at least conservatives aren't going to make fun of me. It's like, girl, mm, doubt. A lot of conservatives are really only like pro Blair White when they need to dunk on a trans person for being trans in the wrong way. It's like when guys from corporate visit your branch and tell you to throw away all the tools and machines that your team uses every day. Yeah, literally. I mean, that's basically what happened. That's basically what happened, and it makes sense if you think about it. Trump is a business dude. People always talk about how Trump is the most failed businessman ever, and I will admit that that's actually kind of like a, in my opinion, misunderstanding of the way Donald Trump did business. Part of Trump's strategy in the businesses he acquired and put his name on and all this was he would take one of these failing businesses, he would buy out some business that was fucking goddamn near bankruptcy, right? Buy it out, purposefully run it the rest of the way into the ground so that he could declare bankruptcy on it and, turn around with like a very cheap business basically with no debt, with a bunch of assets that he's still legally allowed to keep and all this other shit. So it's basically like a legal scheme to do hostile takeovers of failing businesses, oust all the original people, and restart them in his image. It wasn't like Donald Trump himself was actually going bankrupt, you know? Why are you so sensitive about your Joker impression, bud? That's the real question. You ask Riley, why are they so curious? I ask you, why are you so sensitive? You did a Joker impression, bro. It's okay. But now that I know you did a Joker impression, I can't take you seriously, bro. Not if you did it with any kind of admiration for the character. Not coming from the positions you're coming from. There is officially there's literally one person that relates to the Joker whose arguments I will accept and listen to and have it out with, and you are not them. I don't know if they're listening right now, probably not, but Frey, if you're out there, talking about you. Frey can be the Joker up in here if they want to. Your ass, no. I can't believe somebody that would do a Joker impression would get all salty about us, like fucking looking at his profile. See, this is why I said Frey and Frey alone can do the Joker thing. Because you know what? You know what? That would never happen. They would never have what just happened there happen. Literally. It would never even occur to Frey to even make that commentary. Because Frey just assumes that you're probably fucking reading all the shit that they've been posting on their YouTube channel as soon as you're talking to them anyway, or whatever, you know? If you're having a conversation with them on this platform, I mean, not all the time. You can be the Joker if you actually have an ego as big as the Joker or larger. If you actually have that much recognition of the nihilistic reality that human beings occupy. But if you don't, no Joker, okay? It's cringe. It's cringe unless you're TJ Kirk. If you're fucking Frey the Chaos Wizard, you can get away with it. But not, if you're anybody else. I'm the Joker, baby. Yeah. I do love how Heath Ledger played his role, but the role of Joker made him find his demise. Is that true? Is that what did him in? I don't know if that's true, but yeah, I do know his portrayal of the Joker is the most classic one. Jared Leto's is the worst, but honestly, I don't even think it's Jared Leto's fault. I think that character is written badly, and I think that because it was written badly, Jared Leto had no option but to act it badly. No, you are not. You are a pussy. You know how I know you're a pussy? Because you got fucking tripped out about somebody looking at your fucking YouTube profile picture. That's how I know you're a pussy. You just remembered that you're on the same account that you have put a pinky toe into reality on. You've just remembered that. Somebody has made that connection and now they're haranguing you about it in chat. And you're mad about it. That is not the behavior of a sower of chaos. That is the behavior of a whipped dog. Oh, fuck. Yeah, the Joker wouldn't censor himself. That's a good point, too. Hell, did you hear that laugh? I'm more of a supervillain than this motherfucker is. Dude, the random like drama or stupid comment in the chat or whatever based supervillain rant or supervillain speech or whatever you want to call it is my favorite genre of random occurrence during a YouTube live. Like, I think Paul does it best, obviously, but I've gone off on a few here. I've definitely heard TJ go off on a few. I think, honestly, TJ and Paul are kind of neck and neck for it now that I think about it. Because, man, TJ has said some reprehensible things. Yeah, that I may or may not agree with, but some wild shit on this here internets, I'm gonna go see Tom Kenny tomorrow. That sounds fun. So red glow, it's giving villain. I know, definitely is. If you were a supervillain, Phoebe, what would be your theme? I would be. What would be my theme? My theme? You mean like my musical theme, or do you mean like my aesthetical theme? I think you mean my aesthetic. What would be my aesthetical theme? Well, I mean, you guys can probably tell I kind of see myself as like a little bit like a little bit hippie meets goth, maybe. And I think if I were a supervillain, I'd probably have to drop most of the hippie part. But I could incorporate it into some kind of evolved identity based on that. That's like, you know, like supervillain Phoebe would probably wear a lot of dark, flowy dresses, or like if I was somebody that I was actually like out there doing my own dirty work or something like that, I'd probably have one of those like skin tight kind of suits that just covers your whole body and makes it like pitch black. Um, I would definitely go with like natural lighting and everything in my lair. Most things would be natural lighting, except in like some of the technological areas or whatever. The Joker would have had a manic rant while seeming collected. It's a detail I think is interesting. A supervillain with pacifist traits that wants to help the environment with questionable ways. I mean, I don't think that you can deduce any kind of actual intentionality from the Joker besides he wants to sow fucking chaos. He wants to keep things interesting. I think you can, and I think that's honestly one of the interesting things about the character is that you can extrapolate your own feelings about what he might actually want, but his stated reason is a blank slate. The stated reason, according to the lore and according to like what you'll hear in the movies and shit, is like, sower of chaos, fucking creator of damage, enjoyer of the world burning, etc., etc. That's the motivation you're supposed to take away from the Joker. But ultimately, what meaning you take from it is entirely up to you. Does supervillain Phoebes have superpowers? I was just thinking about that. Because, I'm the writer in this situation. I can write myself whatever, I can do it either way. I think the answer is I would be a technology augmented superhuman. Not too fucking crazy super, though. If I had to think about what I wish I could do, the big one has always been flight. So I would have to have some kind of, that would have to be part of it. It's always been a, like, when people ask me what superpower you want before they even give me the parameters, I'm like, flight, flight. I want wings. Give me flight. I'll take it. You don't have to explain the question any further. Flight. So flight would have to be a part of my either superpowers, or it would have to be some kind of technological solution or something like that. Maybe it's, maybe it's some kind of weird kind of situation where like I don't know. I could take that a number of directions, honestly. But I think the direction I like the best, that fits in best with all the other things I would like to do, would probably be having some kind of technological solution that takes advantage of some other aspect of my difference between me and other regular people. It would be like, I would have something like some kind of like hybrid jetpack / wings or something like that, or some kind of magical device, not magical, but technologically magical device that mimics a thruster without necessarily producing all the physics problems of a jet engine or a rocket. Probably something like that. And I would probably have, as part of my superpowers, be that I can like change how much I weigh. Like, fucking, I know that sounds like, oh my god, fat bitch, of course you would. But yeah, like, yes, I would. Because I think that there could be utility as a supervillain in appearing super fucking fat, and also being able to, hollow yourself out, basically. It's like, for example, if I wanted to set up somebody for some kind of ambush or something, I could set myself up to be somebody that they're meeting for some kind of plot against me, right? And part of the cover is that they, get all close to me because they think I'm just a big old fat chick. I'm just a big old fat chick that sits around and plays on the fucking computer all day. Because I've rented some Airbnb. I'm sitting around with my computers all set up. But then they get close, and I rapidly transform back into my, regular, like, moderately, whatever, like, normal size form. And I'm just like, fucking gotcha, bitch. I would definitely want additional strength. Not like, I would want it to be like Superman level, or not Superman level. I would want it to be like Spider-Man level. That's who I was trying to say. Because Spider-Man's got like limits to his strength. Spider-Man cannot hold shit up forever. Spider-Man ain't like Superman. He's not like one of these people that can like pick up a building, He's not. And I've always liked that about Spider-Man. It's one of the things I think always appealed to me about that hero, is the fact that Spider-Man is limited. If you think about it, he's one of the most limited superheroes there are, but that's kind of one of the reasons why reading his stories is so interesting to me, and watching Spider-Man movies is so interesting to me, is because almost every single one of Spider-Man's enemies are better equipped than he is. Like with an Iron Man movie, it's way more of an action thriller and shit, because that Tony Stark has the fucking equipment. That he has the smarts. That he's gonna win. There's like, look at him. If you've watched the first movie, you figured out the basic idea. You thwart Tony Stark in a different way, right? It's usually not technologically that you end up thwarting Tony Stark. So you kind of know that battle to battle, Tony's gonna win pretty decisively more times than not. Very rarely is Tony Stark gonna get thrown around and shit like that. You could argue the same with the Hulk, but Spider-Man's not like that. Spider-Man will get beat the fuck up sometimes, and will have to endure crazy shit. crazy shit, and gets put in these like real fucking tense situations. And I don't know, real appreciation for that particular archetype. So I think I would probably mimic aspects of that. I wouldn't want to be everything poof, you know? You should ride a goblin glider, Phoebe. Charlie is in Candy Mountain now. Candy Mountain! We're going to Candy Mountain, Charlie! It's a Leopleurodon. It's a Leopleurodon, Charlie! Yeah, dude. You should ride a yeah, I don't know. The goblin glider is an idea, but I like the idea better of having like some kind of the bat motif is already used by Batman though, so I can't do bat wings. Dragon wings. There we go. I like having the idea of like some kind of mechanized dragon wings that store. Oh my god. I can rip off Batman even more. No, but seriously, I want them to store either like a cape or some kind of weird decoration around the hips or something when they're not being used. But whenever they are being used, it's like I just fucking wrap my hands up into them, and the motion of my arms triggers the automatic servos to wrap around my hands, and then I fucking and the flapping, and dude, it responds like a pair of wings would, you know, so it like makes intuitive sense and everything. But it not only massively fucking takes care of the amount of strength needed to do those flapping motions and um, get any lift off of them, yeah, should you have to, but it also provides some sort of auxiliary power method and some sort of like gravity defiance. All right. As far as my other superpowers would go, or like special powers, whatever you call them when it's a villain, outside of like proportional strength, I would also want the ability to jump really well, you know? The ability to run, that would be nice. Not even like super fast, just the ability to run in general. That wouldn't be a superpower though. That would just be me, you know, rewriting my illnesses out of my body. It's weird, right? As a person who, like, just due to the sheer amount of damage to my ankles and feet at this point, you know, like repeated cellulitis infections and twists and sprains and all that shit, I really can't run anymore. I mean, I can, but it's a painful process. It hurts to run now. Not lung-wise or anything, but just foot-wise. It just literally hurts. Do too much of it in a day, I'll wipe myself out for 2 days. And so when I think about other people, I don't really think about it all the time, but in a moment like that, I just pointed out something that to all of you is like, well, no shit, you could run. You run now, fat ass. You just don't, right? I'm sure a lot of you had that thought, but the truth of it is, I can't. I would if I could. I am genuinely so fucked up that I can't do that particular kind of exercise. I do want to get a gym membership though and try some of the stuff that's like designed to be lower impact on those particular joints. Because I could do that shit. Like, if I can find something I can stand to do for 10 minutes, I can do it for an hour, you know? Rehabilitate what? What's going on? Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I hope so too, but like I'm conscious of it now and actually doing things to listen to my body, which is something I didn't do for a lot of years. If I wake up and I'm having a bad pain day, I do my best to stay off my ankles. And if I'm not, I try my best to exercise. I've been trying to drink more water and less fucking high caloric shit. Last time I weighed out, I had lost 40 pounds over the course of the last year. I'm hoping that I've continued that, but I worry that I've actually gained some of it back, so I'm still trying to keep that going down. Alright, you guys ready to hear a song before I go? A song or two? A somber songer? Come on, you people, wherever you're on, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, well, you'd better swim fast or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Come poets and authors who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't lock up your doorway, don't block up the hall, for he who gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside raging will soon shatter your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. fathers throughout the land. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Wait, what's the... I'm getting that line wrong, I think. I'm getting that verse wrong. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land. Yep, I am. And don't criticize what you can't understand, for your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. And your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you won't lend your hand, for the times they are a-changing. I can't remember the last verse, but yeah, that's a good song. Man, Shannon is just full of hate. Man, Shannon, I normally don't pull out this card because, like, I really don't care, you know? Your view hour counts just as much as anybody else's does. But ain't you got nothing better? Ain't another stream going on that you might enjoy more? There's not like another... There's not like a person in your life you could, like, go have a conversation with? There's like... Is there some porn you could go watch and drink your dick or something? Like... Surely. It was just like fucking an hour and a half of it. It's just like... Something seems skewed in that equation. I don't know. It's like if you're having such a terrible time, why would you spend so much time in the terrible place? I don't know. Like I said, though, your fucking, you know, the algorithm counts your view hour just as fucking validly as it counts anybody else's. So ultimately, what do I care, I guess? But it is an interesting commentary on human psychology, I think. I guess it's a good thing I don't represent fucking masculinity then, huh, Shannon? I guess it's a good thing I'm not a man and aren't beholden to man things, huh, Shannon? Now do you see why it's fucking stupid to include trans women as part of men? Now do you see why it's fucking stupid to be transphobic? Do you really want me? Do you really want me being a representative of manhood? Because I got news for you. I don't give a shit what you fucking, like, I don't give a shit. I'm not detransitioning. Send me to the camps if you have to. I'm not detransitioning. Literally, send me to the camps if you have to. But if you're not going to send me to the camps, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care if you literally mandate the businesses call me by my dead name and use he, him. I'm not going to stop dressing like this. So you're just making masculinity more feminine by including me. It's in your best interest to stop being transphobic. As long as trans women are men, you have to account for the fact that, like, what, 0.6% of men wear dresses regularly, all the time? Not dresses literally, but you get what I mean. I want to play some kind of anti-government song while we're thinking about, you know, like with the conversation we've been having and all the shit that's been going on. Fuck, I can't remember the melody. Shit. I did. I engaged you on a point in that, Shannon, and then you fucking floundered. I engaged you in a point in that. I provided a very fucking cogent argument for why that was stupid. You didn't give me anything in rebuttal. The matter has been adjudicated. You can go rewatch the stream, but I fucking directly addressed your questions. And I'm not obligated to answer anybody who doesn't pay me for the privilege. Shannon is so concerned with who calls themselves a woman while he has a feminine ass name. Not only that, but Shannon is so fucking worried. A motherfucker that does Joker impressions and says they're badder than the Joker is so concerned about my fucking edgy opinion on Charlie Kirk, which, by the way, is not even that edgy. I'm just recognizing that Charlie Kirk had a lot of untoward things to say about gay people and trans people and black people and basically everybody that wasn't him or somebody like him. You don't have to look hard to find Charlie Kirk advocating for things that are like directly harmful to people who belong to communities that don't look like him. In fact, you realize that Charlie Kirk was literally saying a racist dog whistle when he died? A lot of you probably don't. Or a lot of you do and you're fucking hiding your power level. But I know. I'm smart enough to know. I'm smart enough to pick up little Nazi premises like that, you know? So when you ask a person like Charlie Kirk, how many mass shooters have there been in the last 5 years? They love questions like that. And there's a little lesson you can derive from the debate that would have been, we'll call it. A little lesson you can derive from the exchange that happened before the shot was fired is that if you're arguing with somebody like Charlie Kirk, don't ask them a question that they can dismantle in the eyes of the audience merely with some kind of delineating question like that. You know, asking a numbers question in general as a starter, in my opinion, is never a good one. Address the core of a person's belief. If you have to, give an example of that belief, explain how it implies what you think it implies, and ask about that or whatever. But, you know, numbers questions are not exactly the best way to start off a conversation because you get a response just like what Charlie Kirk did, which was a twofold response. The first layer of it, the normie layer, as I call it, is, um, well, let's just be specific here. Are you talking about like the actual school shooters and stuff like that? Or are you talking about like, you know, violence in poor communities and things like that? Because it does make a difference. Charlie is right to call out the fact that there are different numbers depending on which ones you're including and what kind of violence you're including, with the context, right? If you're including context in that, I think, you know, it matters a little bit, right? Because the causes of it are different. In my opinion, it matters because the causes are different. In Charlie Kirk's opinion, I think it mattered because, well, of the racist implications. But that's the second layer. Because what he asked is, counting or not counting gang violence? The implication there being that, sure, there have been tons of mass shooters, but it's all black people in the inner cities. That's not true, by the way. Rural people die by misadventure to guns all the fucking time. Oh boy, yeah. Shannon's cool as cracking. Shannon's never met somebody as good at trigonometry as I am, and it's fucking ruining their entire night. Shannon, you know what the beautiful thing is about the internet? You are choosing to subject yourself to me. You are choosing to subject yourself to me. I am like a fucking dragon with my prey wrapped neatly around my tongue. With my tongue wrapped neatly around my prey, I should say. My fangs are just starting to penetrate, the blood, the viscera. Still schizo rambling, still schizo rambling. Always. I wonder who that's an alt of. No, they're gone for 5 minutes, but when they come back, I wonder who they're an alt of. Why don't you come back on main, friend? Because that's an alt. I don't trust that channel, by the way, Riley. That stinks. That stinks. Does it not? Riley, fucking hit me back. Does that not stink of alt behavior? Channels so I can comment on stuff? Why don't you want to comment on stuff on your main? Why? Why indeed? Is it somebody that's gotten banned out of here a bunch of times? Is it somebody from the Snarker subreddits? You know? Is somebody from my personal life? I don't know. Ooh, stinky. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I smell something. I smell something, y'all. It's awful stinky. There's something happening here, and what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I've got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Stop, children, what's that? Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There we go. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their mind, getting so much resistance from behind. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. I wish I knew that whole song. I wish I knew that whole song. I smell something, and it's not an Emmy, exactly. I farted, but it doesn't smell like anything. It's not me. This chat is prone to viral infections. It is. It is. This chat is very prone to infections, indeed. Shit. I want to play some fucking shit, dude. Alrighty, here's an anti-government song. Thank you, Mr. Officer Great, for all the things you said to me, for all the good that you've never done. Without you, where would I be? You're the gas upon my flame for love and rage, all rolled up into one. For every time your gun goes off, a new rebel is born. So when there's 41 bullets, there's 41,000 thorns in your side. We'll take a ride down to precinct 29, and we'll sing and dance and break the code of silence. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor. To the mayor and the commissioner. Your monster is alive now. She's taken to the streets, tearing up your opera house, tearing up the seats. For every time you sign your name, someone out there dies. Found a wallet, not a gun, and mothers wiping tears from their eyes. We despise your wicked truths and honest lies. Now you can sing the monster into slumber. Thanks, bastards, you made me what I am. Thanks, bastards, we took the goods and ran. Thanks, bastards, you made me what I am. Thanks, bastards, I took the goods and ran. I took the goods and ran. I took the goods and ran. Civil liberties versus homeland security. I'm studying in the shadows of our state. I've seen the sights they try to hide. Cut the villains underside. The flood of U.S. bathwater. The flood of U.S. bathwater displaced. And a funeral march for all the victims of your power war. Rob the night and steal the light. Rebel shine thorn forevermore. War the storm, we will pray after it pours. Now we can sing the monster into slumber. Thanks, bastards, you made me what I am. Thanks, bastards, I took the goods and ran. Thanks, bastards, you made me what I am. Thanks, bastards, we took the goods and ran. We took the goods and ran. We took the goods and ran. I kind of had to fight to remember the last lyrics in that song. I think we need to introduce Shannon to even more folk punk. Well, we're kids building models of a world that we might want to live in. We're sorting feelings in our stomachs. Is it liberation or starvation? But have we made it anywhere at all if the dishes are never done? If we can't live without dishwashers, how would we live without cops? And so you're asking me, who does the dishes after the revolution? Well, I do my own dishes now, won't do my own dishes then. You know it's always the ones who don't that ask that fucking question. Well, I don't believe in God, but I'm also not an atheist. Because the universe is chaos, but chaos plays favorites. And you know lately I've been thinking about how I love Jesus. Because Jesus, he was a dirty homeless hippie peace activist. And he said drop out and find God to anybody who would listen. Turning water into space bags. Turning water into space bags. Turning water into space bags with lowlifes and anarchists. Once again, channel I made to comment on stuff. Who are you? Reveal thyself. Who are you? I don't like that shit. I don't like. Don't ban them. Don't ban them until they reveal themselves. Give them 3 chances. I want the next one of the next 3 messages better be a name. And if it's not, ban them permanently. I don't want their ass because you know what? I hate this shit. I hate a paper bag. I really hate a paper bag that's adding another fucking paper bag. So fuck it. Dude, who the fuck are you? Reveal yourself or be banned. No, this is not your main. It's literally called channel I made to comment on stuff. But since you're being coy, somebody escort them out the door. I don't know who the fuck this is, but I damn sure, like I said, don't want a fucking 7-layer deep paper bag invading my shit. Nah, I don't trust it for a second. I don't trust it for a second. I don't trust it for a goddamn second. If you're gonna be a little informant, fucking admit who you are. Like, fucking, dude, I don't know. I hate people. Fuck. Oh, God, I'm so mad. I'm not talking about you, Nicholas. You're in here with your name. That's the thing. That's the difference between you and that person. You're not in here with a channel name that makes it obvious that you created your account a month ago to be able to comment on here, despite the fact that your main is banned or something like that. You know, like you're not like, here's what I have a problem with, right? Somebody will come on the internet, that person is already engaging in some level of anonymity. They don't have the real fucking face in their profile picture or anything like that, but you know, they're like a character at least. But then they get banned, or they, for some reason, there's like a falling out or something, and they create an alt. And so now this person who's already like an enigma online has just added another layer. And it's like, if I can control that shit, I'm gonna. If I can get rid of people like that, I will. Like, I really don't care if somebody has an alt, but don't make it fucking obvious that you're a fucking alt. And if you do, know that you'll be banned the fuck up out of here. Because I don't play that shit. I hate it, dude. I hate alt people. If you're gonna create an alt, literally, I would rather you just create an alt that's like your name 2.0 or whatever. I might even giggle. I might even ban protect you. I'll give you a fucking quick, you know, haranguing or whatever, but I'm not gonna like keep you banned out of the chat probably. But I hate a motherfucker that just wants to pretend like, oh, I don't even know, it's just me, you know. It's like, said the sock account. It was you, Hong Kong. No, I'm kidding. What's up, Hong Kong? You think I suck because you know I'm right? I think no, I don't know why Post thinks you suck, but I think you suck because you have failed to engage in any of my arguments in a substantive way. Like, I'll scroll up, but something tells me I'm not going to see much in the way of an argument. Nope. Yeah, no, as far as your George Floyd accusation, George Floyd was not a fucking career criminal. I don't know what right-wing news source you got that from, but you might want to start questioning the validity of their reporting. Not only that, but George Floyd didn't fight the cashier or anything like that when he spent that money. And you can kind of tell in the fucking video where the cop comes up to him, you can tell George Floyd is like kind of panicked because he knows that it's fucking, you know, no small thing to try and spend some fake money. And so you can kind of tell that he's like panicking because he doesn't even like somebody that knows. Okay, listen, here's why I don't think George Floyd was a counterfeiter, because he is exhibiting all the fucking signs of a dude that's panicking and trying to figure out why this money that he's got is fucking like funny money, you know. Got all the signs of a dude going through like I wouldn't say like a panic attack, but maybe like the beginnings of one. And then he's got the fucking cops walking up on him. And so like he's barely able to talk. And it's not because George Floyd wasn't able to talk at other points in his life. George Floyd did not have a problem talking. That video is fucking sad, and to claim that he died of a fucking drug overdose is to ignore the fucking video. It's also to ignore the law enforcement community, who universally pretty much came out and fucking pointed out, hey, that's not what you do. Once you get the cuffs on them, you sit them up. Literally, I was working as a correctional officer at the time. There was a big memo sent out. First, there was one sent out by our chief of security, which would have been the major. He sent out a big old email. But then Ann Presythe, the director of MODOK sent out a big email basically saying, your majors should have already updated you on the correct guidance for what to do in a takedown like this, etc., etc. It is imperative that you not spend any more time than you have to applying even a slight amount of pressure to that area, because human beings need more space than we think we do to breathe. So even if you're just applying basic levels of pressure, you apply a basic level of pressure to a person who's in a fucked up mind state already and not exactly in the best place to fight back already, and they're subdued. It doesn't take giant crushing amounts of pressure to kill that person. 9 minutes? That cop kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes. He was convicted of murder by a jury of his peers. Argue with God. Pat Robertson himself said that that was wrong. You really going to argue with the wisdom of the wise old ape? That's what I'm going to start telling conservatives. That's how I feel about George Floyd. How do I feel about George? Basically believe what Pat Robertson thinks about it. They'll be like, oh, Pat Robertson, what does he have to say about it? That it was a complete disaster, horrible for the police in a time when they're already acting up in increasingly disgusting ways. That it was an utter violation of that man's rights, that he had a long life left to live. Yeah. And people will be like, wait a minute, that's his stance? And I'll be like, yeah, that's his stance. He was not putting up a fight. You can tell in the fucking video that he's not putting up a fight. He barely knows what the fuck is going on. The cop basically comes up to him, starts haranguing him, and because, dude, you can tell just looking at Derek Chauvin that he's fucking hopped up on steroids. Roided up fucking rage beast Derek Chauvin rips fucking George Floyd out of his truck before fucking, or out of his car or whatever, before he can even get his bearings or really understand what the cop is fucking going after him for, what the fucking big deal is. Literally getting dragged out of his fucking car while he's still in. Like, dude, Derek Chauvin didn't even try to de-escalate. He didn't even try to restart things. What he should have done when he noticed that George was being all fucking belligerent and shit is fucking, like, if you have to, reach in there and take the car keys real quick. Like, if you fucking have to, reach in there and take the car keys real quick. You ain't going to take off in the car then. And just be like, listen, hey, listen, no, it's okay. Listen, hey, you'll get him back as soon as we're done talking, okay? I just want to talk. Listen, and just talk over him. That's what a good cop would do. Just talk over him, like, hey, cashier in there said you tried to pay with a 20 or whatever. If you didn't mean to, then hey, you can't help if you got stiffed, but we got to know that shit. We got to figure this out. Derek didn't try to do any of that because he was a roided out rage beast. So he just ripped George Floyd out of his car, dragged him to the curb, and sat on his neck for 9 minutes. 7 minutes, sorry. Or was it 9 minutes? I can't even remember. Way too fucking long, that's how long. And look at you in here defending that fucking murderer. That adjudicated murderer. Yeah, if you're gonna try and justify the fucking murder of George Floyd, you can fuck right off. No misinformation in chat, fucker. Yeah, it's kind of like an unwritten fourth rule, I really don't like it when people just spread fucking blatant disinformation in chat. I argue with it for a while, but in this case, I think Riley was right in fucking pulling Riley, you were so right in pulling the plug. I was literally, for the last 2 or 3 exchanges me and Shannon had, I kept hoping I would look at them and see has been banned out of the chat. Oh my God. Oh, thank you, Riley. Oh, it's like we communicated telepathically. I could kiss you right now. Oh, Riley. What a smart man. Hello, I'm new here. Well, what's up, new here? I'm Phoebe. Mikhail Gorbachev. Would you be interested in a $50 mystery box that may or may not contain 50 Mikhail Gorbachev Man of the Century medals from 1991, the original distributor's box? What the fuck? I definitely don't know any human-sized turtles who know martial arts, but I am a reporter by profession. Oh, righteous. Oh, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ow! So do you agree that the response to George Floyd's death by all the rioting and looting was justified? Justified. I think justified is maybe a harder sell than understandable. Okay? Do you understand the distinction in these two things? Because I do. Do I think it was justified? No, because I don't really think that they like a lot of that I don't think actually did much, you know? I think it probably would have done a lot more if they would have peacefully occupied a big chunk of those same areas and utterly refused to let it get violent and utterly refused to, like, honestly, you have to fucking lay down and take it. And in places where that was dominant and where riots were mostly a feature of the cops instigating the fuck out of people at night, in places where the like peaceful method of fucking MLK Jr. and all that shit prevailed, change actually did come of that in some places. And even in Minneapolis, which had kind of a mixed strategy going on, lots of change happened in that city. So it worked on some level. And, when it comes to the morality of an action, ultimately, I think that one of the most important lenses to look at an action through is like, well, what's the outcome? And if the outcome was they were able to successfully get the legislation that they wanted passed, provided that it's good legislation, and I think in these cases that it was, I think that's a good thing. I mean, was it a horrible, bad, evil thing when the founding fathers were looting and rioting in British-owned ports and shit like that? Was it a problem when they were burning down their own neighborhoods in order to deprive the British of positions? Or is it, and pardon my associations here, but is it okay when rich white guys do it, but not okay when poor black people do it? Is that the problem? Well, really, poor black, white, and all kinds of people, because the George Floyd protests were everybody. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm really tired. It's really late. Good night, guys. Thank you to everybody who super chatted, as always. Thank you to everybody who hung out. You guys are the bread and butter of this channel, and you are a growing number. And I appreciate your contributions. Thank you so much. Goodbye.